The tragic and horrific murder of Charlie Kirk echoes throughout the world this week. My heart breaks for his entire family, his wife and his 2 young children. But it's my hope that this event sparks a much wider conversation, one about the nature of good and evil, and the fight for freedom, justice, unity, and love in an increasingly polarized, hateful, and violent world. Now, before I go further, I want to be clear, this episode is going to be a little different than what we usually do on No Second Best. This is more of a personal message from me, so please don't view it as any kind of official company statement. I feel like in moments like this, it's important to pause, reflect, and speak to the deeper values that Bitcoin represents. And I feel the need to say right out of the gate that this is not a political video. As many of you already know very well, Bitcoin transcends the political divide as the one form of money that stands above any political party allegiance. In many ways, written into the Bitcoin source code is the core tenets of human value and dignity. Freedom. Freedom of speech, freedom to transact peaceably, the right to truly own property, and the right to secure the fruits of your labor without confiscation or censorship. Bitcoin encodes these principles not as promises from politicians, but as mathematical guarantees. And that's why, even in the face of tragedy, we return to first principles. The fight for truth, dignity, and freedom is bigger than any one person or political affiliation, and it's the very reason Bitcoin exists. Charlie Kirk may have been an outspoken and controversial political commentator, but he was also a human being, a husband, a father, a son. He was also someone who believed very strongly in the freedom to openly discuss and debate ideas as a way to deter succumbing to violence. And he was also someone who believed in Bitcoin. Here's what he had to say on the Iced Coffee Hour podcast with Graham Stephan.
What are your thoughts on Bitcoin?
I'm a big fan of Bitcoin.
Should the U.S. do a Bitcoin reserve?
Absolutely, yes. Yes, the United States should have a strategic Bitcoin reserve.
And who should pay for the Bitcoin reserve?
That's a good question. Hopefully, some of the tariff money could potentially do that. The reason why I think we should have a strategic Bitcoin reserve, I know you guys had Michael Saylor on your show, and I think he's onto something. There is something called like the mass adoption theory, which is over a period of time, like the English language, US dollar, things just catch on and they're just kind of volitional and there's no stopping it. I think Bitcoin is that. You got to watch out though. Quantum computing could potentially crack cryptography.
But if they do that, then they're also cracking bank accounts.
Right.
And stock trading accounts.
So quantum is the only asterisk on all this. But I think Saylor is onto something very profound, which is that because Bitcoin is a scarce, legitimately scarce resource, that it's probably going to go nowhere but up. So Saylor makes a very provocative argument that Bitcoin could go up 10x over the next 10 years or something like that, which therefore if we start a Bitcoin strategic reserve, it could pay for the national debt and like basically cover our losses on the deficit. But I think that I think the United States government should be invested in crypto without a doubt.
I tend to agree with Michael Saylor that it's more likely to go to 1 million than 0.
Yes, I think that's right. And by the way, so you have a problem of the world's richest people. They don't know where to put their money. So there's only so many penthouses in London and Paris that they could buy. There's only so many ranches in Wyoming that they could buy. And so we had this problem. So you create all this money, the money goes upwards to wealth inequality point, to your earlier point. The question is then, well, what do rich people do with money? There's only so many equities they can buy. There's only so many shares in NVIDIA and Apple and Microsoft that they could justify. Well, money needs to find a home, and it's found a home in Bitcoin. And so once it has mass adoption, and literally the wealthiest families on the planet are starting to park serious monies in Bitcoin. And because it's scarce, it's easy to transfer, and it's just a winner. Sometimes there's a mass adoption, and it just rises to the surface, and I think Bitcoin is that.
Charlie's words remind us of something deeper, that in times of chaos and uncertainty, people search for a foundation that can't be corrupted. And that's what we have in Bitcoin. A system that doesn't rely on the whims of leaders or the fragility of politics, but on incorruptible rules open to all. And here's the harsh truth. Evil tries to divide, to sow hatred, to destroy. But Bitcoin, at its very core, is about unity. It doesn't matter your race, your politics, your geography. One set of rules, one ledger, one incorruptible truth. We obviously can't expect Bitcoin to erase evil from the human heart. Only God can do that. But we can see in it a tool for peace, a tool for justice, a tool for dignity, a system that pushes us closer to fairness, to accountability, and to a world where people can live and transact in freedom, not fear. So as we mourn the loss of Charlie Kirk, let us also carry forward the values he stood for: courage, conviction, truth, and hope for a better, more unified future. Evil may be able to take a life, but it can't erase the light of an idea whose time has come. And here's where I want to step back from politics, from markets, even from Bitcoin itself for a moment. Because what America and the world needs right now is not more anger projected outward, but more courage to look inward. If we don't start by fixing ourselves, by cleaning up our own houses, then any attempt to fix our neighborhoods or our nations will always fall short. So let this be a call not for vengeance, but for reflection. A call to be a light in a dark time, to forgive where we can, to build bridges instead of tearing them down, and to strive for peace and unity whenever possible. Because the truth is, the path to a better world doesn't start with shouting louder at each other. It starts with humility, with love, with the hard work of becoming the kind of people who can carry peace into the public square. And that's where Bitcoin connects back to this moment. Because at its foundation, Bitcoin encodes human dignity. It respects the fruits of your labor, and it protects them from confiscation, corruption, and decay. It creates a neutral ground where people of all backgrounds can meet as equals, not because of trust in leaders, but because of incorruptible rules. So as we move forward, my hope is that we can each do our part. Be humble, love one another, build peace where we can, and save the fruits of your labor in the only money with morality and human dignity written into its foundation. If you want to go deeper into these ideas, you can always connect with us at Swan Private. Swan Private helps families, individuals, and institutions secure their Bitcoin with the same long-term values and conviction that we talk about on this show. Visit swan.com/no-second-best to learn more. And if you want to be a part of the conversation about Bitcoin's role in freedom and human dignity, I implore you to meet and converse with other Bitcoiners in person. And one of the best places to do that is at BTC in DC, which is only 3 weeks away. You can find all the details at btcindc.com and use promo code SWAN for 10% off your tickets. I would love to hear what you think of all this. Do you think money can play a role in building peace and trust in society? And what values and principles drew you to Bitcoin? Let me know in the comments below. If you made it this far, like this video and share it with someone who needs to hear it. And don't forget to subscribe to the Swan Bitcoin channel for more deep Bitcoin insights. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.